I'd like to give all glory and praise and honor unto the Most High, and what we're going to be getting into today is showing you how the Most High can send deceiving spirits to deceive men. You know what I mean? And also how you can send, spirits to aid men and wise counsel. Lying spirits to deceive men and counsel, and good spirits to aid men when they're in trouble with counsel. Because none of us are awakened on our own accord, man. And the only reason that we're awakened is because the Most High have us awake. The Most High can send lying spirits out there to deceive us, and that only works, I would say, if you're not I'll say, in the graces of the Most High. If you're not learned, if you're not studying your scriptures, you'll be deceived easily, man. You know what I mean? If you want to go off and do your own thing and not hearken on to the Most High, those lying spirits will come take control of you, man. And that's why, hence, you have a lot of guys in Freemasonry, Scientology, still in the Christian church, being deceived by these pastors, paying tithes. You got people in voodoo and ancestor worship. All those are deceiving spirits, man. Lying spirits out there to deceive men. Got people out there in cults, all type of things, man. Lying spirits, man. And that's why, and they're going to deceive a lot of people, man. A lot. And the ones that aid, they're only going to aid a few. That's why it says many are called, few are chosen, man. Now we're going to get into these scriptures real quick, and we're going to show you, how these spirits, how the Most High sent these spirits out on these men. You know what I mean? So let's go. Right here, this is 2 Chronicles chapter 18, verse 18 through 22. And it reads, again, he said, therefore hear the word of the Lord. I saw the Lord sitting upon his throne, and all of the hosts of heaven standing on his right hand and on his left. And the Lord said, who shall entice Ahab, king of Israel, that he may go up and fall at Ramoth Gilead? And one spoke, saying after this manner, and another saying after that manner. Then there came out a spirit and stood before the Lord and said, I will entice him. And the Lord said unto him, wherewith? And he said, I will go out and be a lying spirit in the mouth of all his prophets. And the Lord said, thou shalt entice him, and thou shalt also prevail. Go out and do even so. Now therefore, behold, the Lord hath put a lying spirit in the mouth of these thy prophets, and the Lord had spoken evil against thee. You see? So you see, King Ahab, he had about 400 prophets. He had a lot of prophets, And he didn't want to listen to that one prophet that was telling him the truth. So what did the Most High do? He sent out a lying spirits in the mouth of his 400 prophets, to make him feel good. Like, hey, you're going to win the battle, bro. Go ahead and fight. And the prophets of the Most High was telling him, nah, you're going to lose the battle. But he hearkened on to his 400 prophets, and he ended up losing his life. You know what I mean? So you see, that lying spirit went out, whispered in their ear. You know what I mean? Told him, put the thoughts in the ear, tell him what to do. And he went ahead and led the congregation of Ben to their death, man. So that's what's going to happen, man. And that's what's happening right now. Lying spirits is out. NASA. All that's lying spirits, man. Telling the people they've been to space and this, that, and the third. Folly. They don't want to listen to the Bibles about the firmament, being and the earth being a fixed foundation. All these lying spirits is going out deceiving men, and these guys are fighting against you. But they're going to be put to shame in the end, man. For coming up against the servants, man. Let's keep going. So right here, we're going to be looking at 2 Samuel chapter 16, verse 23. And Ahithophel, this is was one of David's counselors. You know what I'm saying? This is what we're talking about right here. And we're going to read. And it says, and the counsel of Ahithophel, which he counseled in those days, was as if a man had inquired at the oracle of God. So was all the counsel of Ahithophel, both with David and with Absalom. So, if you guys don't know the story, Ahithophel, like I said, he was David's advisor, counselor, and he advised him in everything. And it says, whenever this man spoke, it was like, if he went to the Most High himself, everything he said was spot on. All of his advice was good to go. Everybody listened to what he says. But it happened that, Absalom, who was David's son, came up against him, and he's trying to take the throne from David. And Ahithophel, who was David's counselor, he sided with Absalom, so he was going against King David. You know what I mean? So he was advising Absalom on what to do now. So what happened now was Ahithophel is giving Absalom counsel. This is what's happening now. Telling him what to do, how to attack David, this, that, and the third. And we're gonna take a look at that right now. You know what I mean? In 2 Samuel chapter so right here, 2 Samuel chapter 17, and right here it says, moreover, Ahithophel said unto Absalom, let me now choose out 12,000 men, and I will arise and pursue after David this night. He bugging out, man. He crazy. And I will come upon him while he is weary and weak-handed, and I will make him afraid. And all the people that are with him shall flee. And I will smite the king only. And I will bring back all the people unto thee. The man whom thou seekest is as if all return. So all the people shall be in peace. And the saying pleased Absalom well, and all the elders of Israel. So you see, I'm gonna start right here for a second. You see him? When he spoke, everybody like, all right, yeah, this guy's smart, man. I mean, we're gonna listen to what he says. But Absalom right here, he said, then Absalom called now Hushai the archetype. You know what I mean? And this Hushai was David's friend, who is pretty much, you know what I mean, he's being a double agent right now. He's pretending to be on Absalom's side, but he's really on King David's side. But he's, you know what I mean, he's gonna give his side on what they think they should do. You know what I mean? So that's why Absalom is calling him. He said, then Absalom called now Hushai the archetype also, and let us hear likewise what he has said. So they want to hear what he has to say, because you know what I mean, this was David's close friend. You know what I mean? When he had the throne, you know. So they want to hear, hey, what kind of advice that he said. You know what I mean? So let's keep going. Now remember that Ahithophel, David's counselor, they said that, hey, whenever he spoke, it was like he inquired. You know what I mean? He was like oracle from God. You know what I mean? Everything he said was spot on. So they want to hear what, you know what I mean, Hushai want to say. Now let's keep going. So right here, 2 Samuel 17, verse 7, and Hushai said unto Absalom, the counsel that Ahithophel has given is not good at this time. You hear that, man? He said the counsel that Ahithophel has given is not good at this time. And this guy, Hushai, he ain't no prophet. You know what I mean? No, he's not a prophet. He's just David's friend. So, and this is why I laugh, because imagine, you know what I mean, you went to school, you got, you know what I mean, your master's, you got your bachelor's, you got your PhD. I mean, you were expert in this field, man. I mean, you wrote, you know what I mean, dissertation papers, essays, you know what I mean, on this subject matter. And then you got some old Joe Schmo coming talking about, this guy right here, he don't know what he's talking about. He don't know what he's talking about. That's not good. That's basically what's happening here. He said the counsel that he's given is not good. You won't be sitting back like, what? Because remember, like I said, every time this guy spoke, people listened to him. You know what I mean? So Hushai, and I'm just going to read right here. I'm not going to put it up. It says right here, he said, this is 2 Samuel, 17 verse 8. It says, for Hushai said, thou knowest thy father and his men, that they be mighty men, and they be chaffed in their minds as a bear robbed of her whelps in the field. As a bear robbed of her whelps in the field. And thy father is a man of war. That's what Hushai said about David. Who else got that title? The Lord, man. The Lord is also a man in the war. So you see, David was really a man after the Most High's heart. He got that title. Can you imagine that? David was fierce, but at the same time, you see, you know what I mean, he was balanced, though. He had a balance to him. He wrote his Psalms, you know what I mean, he praised the Most High, but they deemed him a man of war also. I mean, basically he telling them right now, like, look, y'all know David ain't gonna back now. He coming. I mean, so right here, he said, and thy father is a man of war and will not lodge with the people. Behold, he is now hid now in some pit or in some other place, and it will come to pass when some of them be overthrown at the first, that whosoever will hear it will say, there's a slaughter among the people that follow Absalom. I mean, and he also that is valiant, whose heart is as the heart of a lion, shall utterly melt. So he's telling them, look, man, y'all heart's gonna melt, man, when y'all coming up against David. Y'all know how he is, man. You know what I mean? Let's keep going. For all Israel knoweth that thy father is a mighty man, and they which be with him are valiant men. Valiant men. You know what I mean? These are men that's killing 800 men at one time that's rolling with David. 300 men at one time. You know what I mean? These are the type of men that he was rolling with. So so basically I'm not going to read the whole thing, but you know what I mean? Hushai is giving his spill. And right here, you see it, right here, 2 Samuel chapter 17, verse 14, it says, and Absalom and all the men of Israel said, the counsel of Hushai the Architect is better than the counsel of Ahithophel. For the Lord had appointed to defeat the good counsel of Ahithophel to the intent that the Lord might bring evil upon Absalom. You see that right there? So, you know what I mean? The Most High made it, you know what I mean? That they listened to him, man. He came, you know what I mean? To the defense of, you know what I mean? Of David, you know what I mean? The servant of the Lord. And the Most High made it that they listened to him. You see? So that reminded me of the scriptures. He chooses, you know, the foolish things out of the world that confound the wise. You know what I mean? Sure. He chooses the foolish thing to confound the wise. So this guy pretty much got put to shame. He was an expert, you know what I mean, in advice. And this guy just came right here. Nah, what you saying is not good. You know what I mean? Oh, man, let's keep going, man. Right here, 2 Samuel 17:23. And when Ahithophel saw that his counsel was not followed, he saddled his ass and arose and got him home to his house, to his city, and put his house in order and hanged himself and died and was buried in the sepulchre of his father. He already knew, like, damn, these guys ain't listen to me. He knew it's over. I'm gonna just go kill myself. I mean, because I came up against the king. You know what I mean? They not listening to me no more. For the first time, that spirit of the Most High came up on him. You know what I mean? Like, oh man, you know what? Because when David get him, it's gonna be worse. Probably worse. You know what I mean? Or he might just be in so much shame that he went against David. He didn't want to live with that. You know what I mean? So he just went and hanged himself. He didn't even live. He didn't even wait to see the outcome of the battle, man. You know what I mean? Think about that. He didn't even wait to see, like, look, let me see if these guys gonna win, and then I'm gonna make a decision after. Right after they ain't listen to what he said, he just went and hanged himself. Oh man, the power of the Most High, man. You see that right there? You see that? How the Most High send people, you know what I mean? You know, to speak on your behalf, and then you know what I mean? These devils gotta listen. Let's go. We're gonna go into one more, and the one we're gonna be going into is the book of Jasher, and with Moses when he was a baby, you know what I mean? And Moses committed offense against Pharaoh when he was, you know what I mean, when he was like about a toddler. And also you're gonna learn, you know, when you read this, how Moses actually got, you know, how Moses was slow of speech, you know, how he developed, you know, a speech impediment. When we finish reading this, if you guys didn't know already. So we're going to keep going. So this is the book of Joshua chapter 70. It's kind of long, but it's good. Stay locked in. And in the 3rd year from the birth of Moses, Pharaoh was sitting at a banquet when Elaparnith, the queen, was sitting at his right hand and Bethia at his left. And the lad Moses was lying upon her bosom, and Balaam, the son of Beor, with his 2 sons, and all the princes of the kingdom were sitting at the table in the king's presence. And the lad stretched forth his hand upon the king's head and took the crown from the king's head and placed it on his own head. See, Moses took off the king's head. I mean the king's crown. He was a little toddler playing around. And when the king and the princes saw the work which the boy had done, the king and the princes were terrified, and one man to his neighbor expressed astonishment. And the king said unto the princes, who were before him at the table, what speak you, and what say you, O ye princes, in this matter? And what is to be judgment against the boy on account of this act? And Balaam the son of Beor the magician answered before the king and the princes, and he said, remember now, O my lord the king, the dream which thou didst dream many days since, and that which thy servant interpreted unto thee. Now therefore this is a child from the Hebrew children, in whom the Spirit of God, this is child from the Hebrew children, in whom is the Spirit of God. And let not my lord the king imagine that this youngster did this without knowledge. For he is a Hebrew boy, and the wisdom and understanding are with him. Although he is yet a child, and with wisdom he has done this, and chosen unto himself the king of Egypt. So they say Moses already crowned himself king of Egypt by doing that as a toddler. You know what I mean? So they took dreams and stuff serious back then. Let's keep going. Verse 8. For this is the manner of all the Hebrews, to deceive kings and their nobles, to do all these things cunningly, in order to take the kings of the earth, and their men tremble. Surely thou knowest that Abraham their father acted thus, who deceived the army of Nimrod king of Babel, and Abimelech king of Gerar, and that he possessed himself on the land of the children of Heth, and all the kingdom of Canaan. So you see, when you go through these lists right here, you're gonna see how much lies that these devils tell. You know what I mean? This is just their version of what happened. You know what I mean? Let's go, verse 10. And he that descended into Egypt, and said of Sarah his wife, she is my sister, in order to mislead Egypt and her king. That's not why he did that. You see the lies? And his son Isaac also did so when he went to Gerar and dwelt there, and his strength prevailed over the army of Abimelech, king of the Philistines. He also thought of making the kingdom of the Philistines stumble, in saying that Rebekah his wife was his sister. Jacob also dealt treacherously with his brother, and took from his hand his birthright and his blessing. He went to Padan to the house of Laban his brother, and cunningly obtained from him his daughter, his cattle, and all his belongings, and fled away and returned to the land of Canaan to his father. His sons sold their brother Joseph, who went down to Egypt and became a slave, and was placed in prison for 12 years. So he's just going through all the lists, man. I mean, making accusations against the Hebrews, like, so Pharaoh could be like, look, we gotta kill this fool, man. I mean, saying the accuser, man. Let's keep going. Verse 16. Until the former Pharaoh dreamed dreams, and withdrew him from the prison house, and magnified him all above the princes in Egypt, on account of his interpreting his dreams to him. And when God caused a famine throughout the land, he sent forth and brought his father and all his brothers and the whole of his father's household, and supported them without price nor reward, and brought the Egyptians for slaves. Oh man. Now therefore my lord king, behold, this child has risen up in their stead in Egypt, to do according to the deeds, and to trifle with every king and prince and judge. If it please the king, let us know. If it please the king, let us now spill his blood upon the ground, lest he grow up and take away the government from thy hand, and the hope of Egypt perish after he shall have reigned. And Balaam said to the king, let us moreover call for all the judges of Egypt, and the wise men thereof, and let us know if the judgment of death is due to this boy, as thou didst say, and then we will slay him. And Pharaoh sent and called for all the wise men of Egypt, and they came before the king, and the angel of the Lord came amongst them, and he was like one of the wise men of Egypt. So you see that right there? One of the angels came into the midst of these wise men that Pharaoh called, to find out, hey, what we gonna do with this boy? To give counsel. They was aiding him. Let's keep going. Verse 22. And the king said to the wise men, surely you have heard what this Hebrew boy who is in the house has done, and what Balaam has judged in the matter. Now judge you also, and see what is due to the boy for the act he has committed. And the angel, who seemed like one of the wise men of Pharaoh, answered and said as follows, before all the wise men of Egypt, and before all the king and the princes. If it please the king, let the king send 4 men who shall bring before him an onyx stone and a coal of fire, and place them before the child. And if the child stretch forth his hand and take the onyx stone, then we shall know that wisdom has the youth done all that he has done, and we must slay him. So if he grabbed this onyx stone that we put in front of him, we know that this child is wise. That's what the angel is telling him right now. You know what I mean? We're gonna know that he's smart. But if he stretch forth his hand upon a coal, a hot coal, then we shall know that it was not with knowledge that he did this thing, and he shall live. You know what I mean? So if he touched the coal, he's gonna live. That means he's not smart. And the thing seemed good in the eyes of the king and the princes. So the king did according to the word of the angel of the Lord. So you see, they listened to the advice of the angel, man. You know what I mean? He's superseded all of them right now. And the king ordered the onyx stone and the coal to be brought and placed before Moses. And they placed the boy before them. And the lad endeavored to stretch forth his hand to the onyx stone. So Moses was reaching for the onyx stone. You see? But the angel of the Lord took his hand and placed it upon the coal. And the coal became extinguished in his hand. And he lifted it up and put it in his mouth, and burned part of his lips and part of his tongue, and he became heavy in his mouth and tongue. So that's how he got the speech impediment. I mean, where he couldn't speak right. I mean, so the angel came. I mean, it probably was another angel that they couldn't see, and moved his hand onto the coal because Moses was reaching for the onyx stone. You know what I mean? And if he touched that onyx stone, they was gonna kill him. You know what I mean? You know, and he put his hand in his mouth, and it burned him. And when the king and the princes saw this, they knew that Moses has not acted with wisdom in taking off the crown from the king's head. So the kings and the princes refrained from slaying the child. So Moses reigned in Pharaoh's house growing up, and the Lord was with him. You see right there? I'm going to stop right there. So you see how the Most High sent angel in the midst of men, you know what I mean, to give wise counsel, you know, onto his servants, man. You know? And he also, you see in the beginning, he also sent spirits to lead men astray. You know what I mean? You know? Angels over here guided Moses' choice so he could, you know what I mean? So he wouldn't die. I mean? Yeah, man. So I'm gonna stop right there, man. You know what I mean? Hopefully this was edifying, man. You know? Deceiving spirits is going to deceive many. You know what I mean? And, you know, and the good one is going to aid. They're going to aid few. You know what I mean? So, hopefully this was edifying, man. All praises to the Most High.